Welcome to another modern video of Affinity. We're on the draw in this match. Our starting hand looks good. Turn one drum into a signal past Ravager, and then cranial plating to follow up. Should be good clock. Breeding pool is infect or rug, teamer escape shift. What other decks could it be? There's not a lot of decks that go turn one breeding pool. So. Could be some kind of Bant Spirits type deck or Bant Company. Alright. Options here. Master of Ethereum, attack for 2 with Memnite. Or cranial plating equip, attack for 6. Playing the plating and equipping and attacking for 6 presents the most damage this turn, and also tends to bait out his Path to Exile on a less relevant card if he's got a Path in his hand. I think I like that line. Playing the Ravager is just far too medium. Ravager Springleaf Drum doesn't really advance our board state anywhere near as cranial plating or Master would, so it's not really a consideration to play the Arcbound Ravager. Betting it's spirits, maybe humans. Alright. We could see a Reflector Mage on the Memnite, which would be really useless. Reflector Mage on the Signal Pest, possibly. Probably on the Signal Pest, and then planning on chumping the Memnite. That's what I would expect. Alright, Ravager plating to Signal Pest and attack is how we force through the most damage. From here, the worst thing for us would be a land into Collected Company and hitting something good. Looks like he doesn't have that. Play out the Memnite. Drum. Master, and this is now lethal unless he has something very good, and we also have an Arcbound Ravager to back it up. So, I don't think he has any particularly good odds here. Yep. Alright, so humans and Bant humans. Humans have a really hard time dealing with Etch Champion. They're wanting to generally attack through on the ground, and Etch Champion just blocks everything they can do. They also hate Gear Up or Aether Grids, killing all of their stuff. Whip Flare is good against them most of the time. I'd consider a Blood Moon, but it seems kind of slow. They don't have too much removal, so the Ravagers are less good. Could shave a couple Memnites, since those generally just attack on the ground and aren't very good. Thoughtseize to take out Collected Companies or Stony Silences. Could go back down one Etch Champion, I suppose. So that is a little heavy on the 3 drops. Yeah, this looks good. Against everything that isn't Reflector Mage, Master of Ethereum is probably better than Etch Champion, but against Reflector Mage, Etch Champion's a lot better, so maybe we consider having 4 Etch Champions and only 2 Masters, but I'll see after this game. Let's see. We've got turn 1, drop these 4, and then turn 2 we can either play the Master or play the Cranial Plating and equip to Vault Scourge and attack. Assuming he has no Stony Silence. So, this is an excellent hand. Just want to see no Stony Silence. So with him fetching basic planes, I'm less inclined to try to put Blood Moons in game 3, despite only seeing non-basics in the first game. Interesting. Still not interested in trading off Vault Scourge. I'd rather have the 1 life link in the air. And his hand is awful. I'm very curious what would lead him to keep even a 6-card hand with no 2-drop play. It's somewhat tempting to Thoughtseize him, just to see what he's got going on, but we would never hit a Stony Silence, because if he had Stony Silence, he would have cast it. There's more likely something like Reflector Mages or other 3-drop creatures. Could be he's got a Path to Exile in hand. Against Path to Exile, would I rather cast Master of Ethereum or play Cranial Plating? What would I rather have pathed? I think it's fine if we get the Master pathed, because generally he shouldn't be able to race a Cranial Platinged up Vault Scourge, so if we play out the Master and he plays the Path on the Master this turn, then we get to attack with the Cranial Plating Vault Scourge on the following turn and gain a whole bunch of life. Whereas if we plating up the Vault Scourge and attack with it this turn, then he paths the Vault Scourge, and our next turn is playing the Master of Ethereum, and then he could go into a Reflector Mage and would be pretty behind. I think I'll go with the Master here. So as expected, there was a path. And now our next turn is fairly opened up to cast. Plating, equip, maybe play a Signal Pest, and do a Thoughtseize. And we'll be out racing him by a lot, given the lifelink on Vault Scourge. Excellent. So I'm going to lead off with a Thoughtseize. And then we have just enough mana to do everything else that we want to do. Second path. That is significantly more awkward. There's no second basic to search for. However, he has no gas left in his hand, because if he does, we'll just get rid of it. If this is a third path, it'd be really funny. No, just a land. Alright, so both of us have really not a lot going on. Hierarch. Attack for 4. Puts us down to 10. And then we attack back for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10. So we're winning this race by a lot. Grid. Grid cannot kill the champion of the parish. But we can play Grid, kill both of his dorks and attack for 5, which should be enough to shut off his options. Unless he draws exactly Collected Company, it's unlikely he can put together enough of a board presence to outrace what we have going on. Reflector Mage. Actually, that's pretty annoying. It bounces the Signal Pest and puts the champion out of the parish outside of grid range. We got down to 6. I think here we just attack with Blink Moth Nexus and equip Cranial Plating to it first, and then move the plating over to the Ornithopter to trade with the champion of the parish on the next turn. And we have 2 Gira per Aether Grid pings that we can use. Collected Company still remains awful for us. A Reflector Mage would also probably... well, a Reflector Mage would be lethal. Doesn't look like either of those is what he has, though. One extra damage from tapping these artifacts here is not worth the risk of getting blown out by a Collected Company or some sort of thing like that. I'm going to let the 1 extra damage from the even-numbered artifact be wasted. Because it's not meaningfully changing our clock, we're still attacking for 5 in the air anyways. Or 6 or something like that. Play out the Signal Pest to get more damage off the Cranial Plating. And to have a second thing that we can ping with. But this should probably be lethal. Alright, 2-0. Come back for the next match.